This tutorial video will teach you how to create and work with a QuoteWerks layout. The first step in this process is to learn about the basic functionality of a QuoteWerks layout. Let's take a look at an existing layout and go over the different sections and see how they work together. Choose the File, Print menu option, or click on the Print button located on the QuoteWerks toolbar. Let's work with a standard quote layout that comes with every demo version. Select the layout, then click the Edit button. Now you'll see the Layout Designer window appear. In the Layout Designer, you'll notice that the sample layout is set up with 5 section types: the report header, page header, detail section, report footer, and page footer. The report header will always appear first when printing the layout. This section is typically used to store the customer's contact information for the document. The page header will appear on every page of the document. This section is typically used to store column headers such as quantity, description, unit price, etc. However, some customers choose to include the quote number and their logo in the page header, as well as other information, so that it gets displayed on every single page. The detail section will hold all the line item information in your document. The size of the details section is directly related to the number of line items you have in your document. Any document items field that you've placed in the details section will be repeated with each item based on what's in that respective field. The report footer will only show up at the end of your document after the details section is done printing. This section may not always be at the bottom of the page. Spacing is dependent on the number of line items that you have in your document. The page footer will appear at the bottom of every page in your document. Customers typically put a page number or a closing remark in the page footer, such as a label that states, "We appreciate your business." Now that you understand how the different sections work, let's move on to the fields that you can add in your layout. Click on the Insert menu, and you'll see Data Field, System Field, Formula Field, Dialog Field, Label, Line, and Picture menu options. Let's first start off with the data fields. The data field menu option allows you to enter any field that will be pulled from the current document. There are several tables that you can choose when working with the data field option. You can pull a data field from the document headers table, the document items table, application, or contact manager. Document header data fields are defined as fields that are located in the Sold To Shipped To tab, the Sale Info tab, the Notes tab, Custom tab, and certain fields on the Document Items tab. Note that the report header section has many document header data fields, such as the Sold To Company, Contact, etc. Most of the fields that you see here in the report header are document header data fields. In all 4 tables, you'll note that some fields have an ampersand symbol in front of them. These are special fields referred to as macro fields. Macros are fields that perform calculations or complete certain tasks. A good example of a macro is the ampersand sold to full address macro. This macro will combine each of the sold to address fields on the Sold To Shipped To tab and place them properly formatted into the layout. Document item fields are defined as fields that are located under the Document Items tab. They are all the fields that are in relation to the products or services that you have in your document. These are the main fields that will be used in the details section, such as quantity, description, unit, and extended price. Application data fields are defined as fields that are associated with the installation of QuoteWerks. As you see when working with the application data fields, there are 3 types: the licensee fields, the logged in user fields, and the hour location fields. The licensee fields are pulled from the installation under the user registration information. The logged in user fields are pulled from user maintenance, and they operate directly in accordance to who is logged into QuoteWerks. The hour location fields are stored on the Company tab of the Tools Options menu. Contact Manager data fields are defined as fields that are pulled from your Contact Manager, such as Act, Goldmine, or Maximizer. For a full list of our Contact Manager integrations, please click on the Link to Contact Managers option on the right-hand toolbar of our website. At the time you print or preview your layout, the fields that you've added from the Contact Manager data fields will pull information from the current contact in your Contact Manager. Let's move on to the System Fields. The System Field menu option allows you to enter fields that are pulled from the system. Examples of system fields are page, date, rec count, and page count. When printing the document, you may have multiple pages. Inserting the page system field will show you the actual page you're on when previewing the document. However, if you insert both the page and page count system fields, you can show an X of Y value, or page 1 of 1, as you see here. Next on the Insert menu is the Formula option. The Formula Field menu option is one of the most powerful features on the Layout Designer. This option allows you to perform calculations that are not inherently performed in QuoteWerks. Examples of formulas range from running regular multiplication, such as figuring square footage, to performing least calculations. For examples of different formulas and how to create them, please refer to the example formula videos that we've provided. Next on the Insert menu is the Dialog Field option. When you create a dialog field, the QuoteWerks layout will prompt you for a value when printing or previewing the layout. You can specify if you want the dialog to be a text, numeric, or a date field. Dialog fields are great to use in conjunction with formula fields as well, because they allow you to specify one of the calculated fields when printing or previewing the document. One thing to consider when using dialog fields is that this information is not stored in the database. It's a runtime field only. Next on the Insert menu is the Label option. Labels are ordinary fields that you would use to label other fields, hence the term label. Most of the time, you would only have 1 or 2 line labels. However, you can configure a multi-line label to store information, such as terms and conditions, in the report footer sections. If you do have a multi-line label, make sure that you check the multi-line label checkbox. Next on the Insert menu is the Line option. The ability to add lines in your layout will give you a chance to separate sections or items, and also gives you the ability to improve the look and feel of the layout. Lastly, you have the ability to add pictures to your layout. With this option, you have to choose a bitmap or a JPEG image, which will have a .bmp extension or .jpg extension. This option is generally used for company logos or signature image files. Now that we've learned about the different sections and the fields that can be placed in these sections, let's move on to the formatting of the layout. To save time, I've already added some fields to the layout. These are the fields that you would see in the demo sample layouts. Now here's a tip to quickly see what type of field that you're working with. If you select a field on the layout, you can look at the bottom of the Layout Designer on the status bar, and this will display the field type of the field that you've selected. This is also a great tool to use if you need to look at the positioning of the fields as well. Now let's look at the orientation of the layout. Either portrait or landscape can be chosen. To select this, click on the File, Printer Setup menu option. The orientation options are located in the lower right. Once you choose your orientation, you can start adding fields to the layout. Continuing the process of formatting the layout, let's take a look at the report options. To adjust the report options, choose the Report Options menu. In this window, you can adjust a layout name, margins, and set defaults for several other items. Next, we'll look at the formatting of the sections in the layout. If you double-click inside the report header, you'll see that there are 4 options that you could choose for formatting. You could choose to advance the page either before or after printing this section, and to compress the space either before the first or after the last item in the section. These formatting options are available for other sections as well. The last formatting items that we're going to discuss in this tutorial are the formatting of the data fields themselves. There are 4 different types of data fields: numeric fields, text fields, date fields, and picture fields. The picture fields that we're discussing here are different from the picture fields as we discussed earlier in the lesson. This picture field is pulled from the Document Items table under the Insert Data Field menu option. This picture field is used to display a picture that's linked to the products that you have in your product database. To format a text field, you can either double-click on the field, or you can right-click on the field and choose the Format menu option, and the Format window will appear. In fact, this same rule applies for all field types. Here you'll have a chance to adjust the wrapping of the text, the case, and some other items, including the ability to make the fields invisible. Now you might ask yourself, why would you need to make a field invisible? When this attribute is set, the item is only visible when editing the layout. A great example would be in the case where you have two formula fields, and one of the formula fields depends on the calculation of the other, but you only need to show the results of one. To format a numeric field, such as the grand total, you can either double-click on the field, or you can right-click on the field and choose the Format menu option, just as you did with the text field. Note that the Format window here is different from that of the text field. Here you have the ability to adjust the decimal places, currency symbol, and change the summarization type. The two summarization types that you'll use the most are total and value. The summarization type of total adds up the value of the field per line item. The summarization type of value returns the value of the field. When working with numeric fields, there are different settings that you need to consider for the summarization type. When inserting a numeric field like subtotal, grand total, etc. into the report footer section, the summarization type for these fields may be changed to total, which will cause these values to inflate. If your totals are inflated, chances are that your summarization type is incorrect, as you can see in this example. To correct this, simply change the summarization type from total to value. And now you should see the proper results. Double-click on the picture field to bring up the Format menu. As you can see, you can resize the boundaries, maintain aspect ratio, and reserve space if empty. When resizing to boundaries, this will resize the default size of the picture and resize it to fit the size of the field. If you choose to resize to boundaries, you'll also need to check the Maintain Aspect Ratio checkbox for better picture quality. Lastly is the Reserve Space if Empty checkbox. If you choose this option, then the space will remain for each line item in the detail section, even if a picture is not present. If for some reason your picture does not show up in the layout, make sure that you have these following items in order. You must have a manufacturer part number associated with the product. The Print Picture attribute must be selected. You can check this by going to the product in the Product Lookup window, choosing Edit, clicking on the Picture tab, and making sure that the Print Picture checkbox is checked. Lastly, the vendor name of the product must match the vendor database that you have the product stored in. If it does not, then the picture option will not work properly. Double-click on the Date field to bring up the Format window. Here you can see the various formats that you can choose to display the field. You can also specify a date delimiter, suppress the field if the date is empty, and also display time in different formats. Now that we've covered all of the formatting, we can move forward and look at the options to aesthetically enhance your layout. First, if you right-click on one of the fields, you'll see 4 separate options: Font, Borders, Color, and Alignment. If you choose the Font option, you'll have a chance to adjust the font for this field. Every time the layout is printed or previewed, the font will be displayed as you have selected. Next we have the borders. With each field and section, you can have borders on the left, right, top, and bottom. You also have the ability to choose the width and style of the borders as well. For this example, I'm using a solid 10-point border on all sides. Next, you can adjust each field for color or shading. First, you'll need to choose to use a background color by checking the checkbox here, and then clicking the color button to choose the color. After you've chosen your color, then you can choose the shading type that you want to display in the field or section. In this example, I've used 2 different shades of gray for the background color and 2 separate empty label fields to give the impression of shading. You can simply use one label to enclose certain fields and then use different colors to change the look of your layouts. Lastly, you have the chance to adjust the alignment of each field. When you choose the alignment menu option, you can see that you can adjust the alignment horizontally and vertically with several different options. We mentioned earlier in the lesson that you have the ability to add lines. Lines are a very useful tool when you're trying to enhance your layout. You can place lines in various locations to split off different sections to make sure that you emphasize certain areas. If you look at the line properties by right-clicking on the line field and choosing Format, you'll see that you have several ways to use lines in the layout. You could choose to use horizontal, vertical, diagonal, reverse diagonal, and spanning vertical lines. Most of these are self-explanatory, however, the spanning vertical line is something you should pay close attention to. If you want to use a vertical line in the Details section, you'll need to use the Spanning Vertical Line menu option. This will allow the line to continue from one item to the next without separation. Now here's what will happen if you just use a vertical line. Now let's take a look at what the Spanning Vertical Line does. You can see that using the Spanning Vertical Line will give you a much cleaner look. Once you have all your fields added to the layout, you'll want to make sure that everything is lined up correctly. If you choose the Arrange menu, you'll see that you have several options to accomplish this task. You can work with the alignment, the spacing, and sizing of the fields. This menu option is designed to work between 2 or more fields. If you look at this example, when I hold down my left mouse button and start to draw a box, I'll need to enclose the fields that I want to arrange in this box. Once I've enclosed the fields in the selection box, the fields will change in appearance. They'll be bordered with dotted lines. Next, you'll need to choose either to arrange the selected fields by alignment with the different options that you see here, or arrange the selected fields by spacing, or arrange the fields by sizing. The first field that's selected will be the basis of the alignment, meaning all the other fields will adjust to match the first one, as you see here. This will save you a lot of time when arranging your fields, in that you can choose one certain size for your fields, and then arrange every other field to near the size or position of the first field. To arrange a single field, you can simply choose the field that needs adjusting, and you'll see that it's now selected. Notice the small black boxes as well as the dotted lines also surround the field. These little black boxes are sizing boxes. If you put your mouse pointer on top of one of these boxes, notice how the mouse pointer changes into a line. Here you can hold down the left mouse button and drag in whatever direction that you need to go to resize the field. I've chosen to make this field larger vertically, and I can increase the size of the field just by pulling it up. We've gone over a lot of material in a short amount of time. It may be useful to watch this lesson again to get a better understanding of the material and to practice building your layout before moving to your master or primary layout. Once you're comfortable with this material, please feel free to review our other tutorial videos listed in the Layout Designer section to learn more.